Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You know those scams that just seem too creepy to be true? Well, you sent over some sources about one that's seriously unsettling using photos of your actual house. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. To unpack this, we've got some fascinating sources. We've got the 2023 FBI Internet Crime Report to set the scene. We've got an article from CoinDesk that delves into cryptocurrency scams. And we have an Electronic Frontier Foundation article that digs into the specifics of this home photo email scam. Oh, and to top it off, we've got a truly chilling real-life story from the Irish Sun about a will forgery scam. It really makes you think twice about who you trust. So are you ready to arm ourselves with knowledge and figure out how to fight back against these digital shadows?
Absolutely. The thing is, these scams really prey on our sense of security. Using a photo of your own home, it just adds this layer of personalization and threat that can really make anyone panic.
Yeah, it's like they're saying we know where you live.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the FBI report. It paints a pretty grim picture of cybercrime in general, doesn't it?
It really does. The report highlights just how massive this problem is, with losses in the billions of dollars. It's not even just about the money, it's also about the increasing complexity of these scams, investment scams, and business email compromise, or BEC. Those are particularly costly. And to make matters worse, ransomware attacks are surging again, affecting essential infrastructure. It's a bit of a digital Wild West out there.
So what exactly is BEC? It sounds pretty ominous.
Imagine you get an email that looks exactly like it's from your boss or a trusted colleague asking you to transfer funds or share sensitive information. That's BEC in a nutshell. It exploits the trust we place in everyday communication, and it can lead to huge financial losses.
Ugh, that's scary. It makes you realize how easy it is to be fooled, even in situations that seem harmless.
Exactly, and it really highlights that these scammers are getting incredibly sophisticated in how they target people. It's not just random spam emails anymore. They're using info from data breaches, social media, and all sorts of places to craft these very targeted attacks that seem much more believable. And this connects directly to the home photo scam. They might get your address from a data breach, your house photo from Google Street View. Suddenly, it feels like they're watching you, and that ramps up the fear factor big time.
Okay, let's talk about that fear factor, because the CoinDesk article you shared really highlights how these scammers prey on our emotions, especially with cryptocurrency.
Well, cryptocurrency is still new and complex for many people, which makes it ripe for exploitation. Think about it. People hear about Bitcoin making millionaires overnight, and they get caught up in the excitement. This leaves them vulnerable to scams that promise easy money or plan FOMO, fear of missing out. Things like fake NFT giveaways or those shady projects.
Oh, that FOMO is real. I've seen friends get pulled into those shady schemes promoted by fake verified accounts on social media. It's like a digital emperor's new clothes, where everyone pretends something's valuable just because everyone else is saying it is.
And that's exactly why social media is such fertile ground for these scams. It plays on our human need to connect, to trust, to belong. We see someone with a verified badge pushing a crypto project, and we're more likely to believe them, even if it's totally bogus.
It all comes down to trust, right? We trust these platforms, we trust those little blue check marks, and we trust our connections. Scammers know this, and they exploit it relentlessly. Honestly, after reading that story from the Irish Sun, I'm starting to question trust in general. That will forgery case was chilling.
It really was. That story is a stark reminder that these scams aren't always some shadowy figure in a dark corner of the internet. They can be right in front of us. John Harris, a seemingly ordinary bus driver, was able to gain the trust of this elderly couple and then completely betrayed it for financial gain.
It makes you wonder how many other John Harrises are out there lurking in plain sight. It's enough to make you paranoid.
Well, paranoia isn't the answer, but a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking can go a long way. But before we get to those tips, let's dive into the details of this specific email scam using home photos. This one really hits a nerve because it feels so personal and invasive.
Yeah, it is. The EFF article describes how these emails typically start with a claim that the scammer has hacked your computer, and they say they have access to all sorts of personal info, like, the compromising photos or videos. And then to make it even more terrifying, they include a picture of your house, implying they know where you live.
Ugh, that's nightmare fuel. It's playing on our deepest fears, like our privacy's been violated and our home, our sanctuary isn't safe anymore. It's like something out of a psychological thriller. Exactly. The whole point is to trigger that panic response, making you act irrationally and just pay the ransom without thinking. But here's the thing. Just because they have a picture of your house, it doesn't mean you've actually been hacked. The truth is, they probably got your address from a data breach and then just matched it to a photo from Google Street View or maybe a real estate website. They're masters of illusion, making it seem like they have more power and access than they actually do.
Okay, that does make me feel a little better. But it's still unnerving how easily they can piece together all this information and craft this convincing and terrifying narrative. So, what should you do if you get one of these emails? Resist the urge to smash your computer and flee to a deserted island.
Well, a deserted island vacation might sound nice, but there are some more practical steps you can take. First and foremost, never, ever pay the ransom. Paying just confirms to them that you're a target and encourages them to try again. Remember, they're counting on your fear. Don't give them the satisfaction.
Right. Don't feed the trolls. But it's hard not to feel powerless when you see that photo of your house staring back at you from the screen. So what else can we do to regain a sense of control in that situation?
Knowledge is power, and the more you know about how these scams work, the less likely you are to fall victim. One thing to remember is that scammers often use generic language and make careless mistakes. So really scrutinize the email for red flags. Look for misspellings, grammatical errors, email addresses that don't match, anything that just seems off. Like they might claim they hacked your webcam, but you don't even have one. These inconsistencies can really help you see through the facade.
So it's like being a digital detective, looking for clues that don't quite add up. I like it. What other detective tools should we have ready?
Strong passwords and two-factor authentication are absolutely crucial for any online account. Think of it like double bolting your digital doors. And it's not just about protecting your financial information, it's about safeguarding all your personal data. That can be just as valuable to scammers.
That's a good point. Our data is like currency in the digital world, and we need to be just as careful with it as we are with our physical wallets. Speaking of wallets, the EFF article also recommends checking for data breaches on websites like Have I Been Pwned?
Yes. Have I Been Pwned is a fantastic resource. It lets you check if your email or phone number has been compromised in any known data breaches. If it turns out your info has been leaked, you can take steps to change passwords, secure your accounts. It's like a digital watchdog looking out for you.
Okay, so we've covered prevention. But what about damage control? Let's say, despite our best efforts, we do fall victim to a scam. Is there any hope of getting our money or information back?
It can be tough, really tough, but it's not impossible. The FBI report actually highlighted the work of the IC3 Recovery Asset Team, which has had some success in freezing stolen funds. It's a good reminder that law enforcement is out there working to fight these scams and trying to help victims.
That's reassuring to know. But it also highlights the importance of reporting these crimes, right? The more data they have, the better equipped they are to catch these criminals and prevent future attacks.
Absolutely. Reporting a scam might feel like a small thing, but it can really make a difference. It helps build a clearer picture of the problem and supports those law enforcement efforts. And who knows, it might even prevent someone else from falling victim to the same scam.
You know, we've covered so much today, from the scary tactics of these home photo scams to the proactive steps we can take to protect ourselves. Honestly, it is a bit overwhelming. But the main thing I'm taking away from this deep dive is that knowledge really is our best defense.
I completely agree. By understanding how these scams operate and taking those practical steps to protect our info, we can feel more in control and navigate the digital world confidently.
So instead of constantly looking over our shoulders, we can actually focus on the good things about technology. Knowing we're equipped to handle the challenges that inevitably come with it.
Exactly. It's all about that balance between cautious awareness and optimistic engagement. The digital world's full of amazing opportunities, but we do need to be smart, need to be informed to make the most of them. It's like exploring a new and exciting jungle, You've got to be prepared for those wild beasts, but you can still appreciate the beauty and wonder all around.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you'd leave our listeners with? The one key takeaway you hope they remember.
Remember, you are not alone. Cybercrime is a global issue, and we're all in this together. By sharing information, supporting each other, and advocating for better data protection, we can create a safer and more secure digital future for everyone.
It feels like we've gone on quite the journey with this deep dive. We started feeling vulnerable and scared, but now I'm feeling more informed and empowered.
Yeah, that's the power of knowledge, right? It replaces fear with understanding and gives us the tools to take back some control. Instead of feeling like victims, we can actually be active participants in making the digital world safer.
It's not just about protecting ourselves, is it? It's about looking out for each other, too. Especially people who might be more susceptible to these scams, like, that elderly couple in the will forgery case.
Absolutely. We need to talk about these threats more openly, share our experiences, and look for any warning signs, in our communities. Sometimes just a simple conversation can prevent someone from falling victim to a scam.
That reminds me of something you mentioned before about data privacy. Are the laws and regulations we have now actually strong enough to protect us in this digital age? Or do we need to push for more, like, systemic change?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? The EFF article touched on that, and it's a conversation that needs way more attention. Do companies have too much freedom to collect and store our data? Could stricter regulations help prevent these scams from happening in the first place? These are tough questions, no easy answers, but they're conversations we definitely need to be having.
It's like we've stumbled onto a whole other layer of this problem. It's not just about being vigilant as individuals, but also about collective action, holding those in power accountable.
Exactly. We need to advocate for policies that make data privacy and security a priority. Policies that give individuals more control over their information, and that hold companies responsible for protecting the data they collect. It's about shifting the balance of power back to the user.
So it's about taking back control of our digital lives, not just from scammers, but from anyone who might try to use our data against us. It's about reclaiming our privacy and shaping a digital future that actually respects and protects our rights.
I like that. And it's a great message to leave our listeners with. We might feel overwhelmed by how widespread cybercrime has become, but we're not helpless. We can make a difference by staying informed, being proactive, and pushing for change.
It's like that saying, knowledge is power. And now, with all the insights from this deep dive, we've got the power to navigate the digital world more safely, more confidently. We can spot those red flags, protect our information, and hopefully even inspire others to do the same.
And remember, every step we take, even the small ones, they all contribute to building a safer, more secure digital world for everyone. So keep asking those questions, keep learning, keep diving deep.
Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay empowered. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.